earlier this week, Cuyahoga County executives came out and said they don't have the money to fund the reported $2.4 billion domed stadium proposal in Brook Park, and that they are supporting the renovation project of the current stadium, which has a price tag of about $1 billion. Spencer, if they would have just said we don't have the money, I'd have been fine. Pouring $1 billion into the facility that's down there is ridiculous. The foundation of that building was built in 1931. They were trying to attract the 1932 Olympics. The sewage system hasn't been upgraded. That's probably why you're spending $1 billion. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, and it's funny. We had Cuyahoga County Executive Chris Ronian, excuse me, on Afternoon Drive on Monday, and I asked him sort of point blank because in their statement and all that they emphasized how it's fiscally irresponsible, I think is the wording they used, to pump money into this Brook Park project. But my big question is like, how is that more fiscally irresponsible when you're creating this new potential, revenue source in terms of taxes and jobs and events coming into town that also generate, tourism and revenue for the area, but putting, lipstick on a pig in the form of $1 billion renovation on the stadium on the lakefront that can only do so much. And then, in 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about renovating it yet again. And there's still problems up on the lakefront. And if you don't develop the lakefront, like I just don't understand how this is the path that our representatives feel is best for the taxpayer. I shouldn't say that, because I get from a standpoint of like, what are we really spending our money on? And to clarify too, like, it's not that money is coming out of anything right now to help fund the new stadium project, but they have to have
Right.
taxpayers' money to back the bonds that would help pay for the other half that the Haslam's aren't paying. And so they're not willing to commit that right now. I just think, and listen, I understand, like, there's risk with any of this type of stuff. Maybe the Haslams ran the numbers and they're coming in higher than what the county thinks they're going to get from the, surrounding mixed development space, the restaurants, the bars, all that, in terms of revenue that they can use to repay the bonds. But I just can't fathom how a project like that is not beneficial to this area enough for even the county to back it, when obviously the stadium would still be in Cuyahoga County. And I think a lot of this too, Dave, I don't mean to be long-winded here, but I think a lot of it is like, it's become this war of words. And I think there's like a lot of legacy play here, where I don't think the city wants to be known for losing the Browns again. And the Haslams are kind of like beating around the bush with like what they're doing. They still haven't really said they're committing to it. They're just, they put out all these renderings. They spent all this money on this stuff, but hey, we still haven't made a final decision. I think it's pretty clear where you're leaning. And it's like, nobody has to be the bad guy here. The city doesn't have to be accused of losing the Browns. They're 15 minutes down the road. They're not leaving Northeast Ohio. And the Haslams don't have to be the next owners that took the team from Cleveland, because they're staying in the area. I just wish, like, I hope cooler heads can prevail, and that hopefully the city sees it as an opportunity, like, we can finally develop the lakefront with what we want. And that's the thing, like, we've been hearing for years about them trying to develop that lakefront with the stadium there, and it just hasn't happened. So I have no faith that if they renovate the stadium, they'll finally commit to that and make it a place that makes sense for an NFL stadium to be. And until we get that, I think the Brook Park project makes a boatload more sense for this area, for the Browns, for everybody. And it's what you make it, right? Like, I know some Browns fans are committed to like the whole tradition thing and playing outdoors and all this, but I think that space in Brook Park could become a really cool game day experience for people, and it would become the hub for Browns fans. And I also think it's just kind of wrong to tout, like, if your only reason is like, well, tradition, it's always been this way. I just can't buy into that when I see a project that feels like it's beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, one of the definitions of insanity is if you always do what you did before and you expect something
Yeah.
different. Here's the thing. The Browns shortchanged the building of the stadium because they were all excited that we kept our team name and our team colors, which is great.
Yeah.
That's fine. I get that. But you shortchanged the facility because you ramped it up too quick. You shortchanged the roster. Most expansion rosters had 2 years. This one had 1 because you were concerned about take the time, get a development that makes sense, that will last, and stop shortchanging and chasing things. Nobody's had an idea of how to develop down on the lakefront. It's been I've lived in this town for over 50 years, and nobody's had an idea. And I'm not blaming Chris Ronayne. Chris Ronayne is a really bright young guy that he was with the University Circle and did a lot of good things down there.
Yeah.
I know Chris. I know his history. I just disagree. I don't think there's any way that it makes any sense to put $1 billion into that facility.
And again, you talk about fiscal responsibility. Yeah, and you talk about being fiscally responsible. Like, I just feel like to put taxpayer money back into something that in 10 years, again, you're going to have to put more taxpayer money into, because that stadium ages so fast on the lakefront. There's already problems with it, and this isn't going to fix everything. You can't put a dome over it because the FAA restrictions with Burke Airport there. And I know they've talked about decommissioning that, but from what I understand, decommissioning that airport is going to take a long time. There's just too many logistical hurdles right now, and it'd be better to help fund a project that is innovative and forward thinking. And I again, all due respect to Chris Ronayne and the other representatives from the city, I just think like this is spinning your tires when you could use the taxpayers' money in a better way with the Brook Park project.
Here's the question that I would have: who wants to put $1 billion into developing something in Northeast Ohio? The only person I know is Jimmy Haslam, who's putting $1 billion to develop the other thing. So I say you get behind that and see what his vision is for it.